Hello and welcome to FP Live. I'm Ravi Agrawal, Foreign Policy's Editor-in-Chief. We dropped our new print issue this week. It is called Billionaire Rule, and it explores a simple question. Is America becoming a kleptocracy? Kleptocracy means literally a rule of thieves. So if the United States is showing a tendency to head in that direction, there are immense social and economic repercussions here. We've linked to all of the essays in the magazine right here on this page. Well, my guest today has been thinking a lot about this topic. He's been talking about it too, posting videos on social media almost every day. Chris Murphy is a Democratic senator from Connecticut, and he says the Trump administration has handed the government over to billionaires. He joins me now. Senator Murphy, welcome to FP Live.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're here to focus on corruption, of course, but I have to begin with one other thing in the news. It's gotten a name, Signalgate. The Atlantic's editor-in-chief was mistakenly added to a chain on the messaging app Signal that included the country's top national security officials as they discussed a strike on the Houthis in Yemen. You sit on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. How damaging is this to the United States?
Well, in and of itself, it's something we could probably get over, but it speaks to a level of growing incompetence in the administration. This is a Secretary of Defense who had no real meaningful experience before taking the job right out of the bat, badly bungled our initial interactions with Ukraine and Russia, essentially telegraphing to the world what our bottom lines were for negotiation. That's just diplomatic malpractice. And now has made it clear that the administration is regularly and will for the foreseeable future regularly violate some of the most important security laws that try to assure that classified data remains classified. What is most stunning about the last 2 days is that the administration still maintains they did nothing wrong and suggests that they will continue to use private commercial texting services like Signal in order to communicate classified information. What is maybe the most damaging is the gaslighting, the fact that Secretary Hegseth and others claim that no classified information was shared. That is absolutely false. Claim that no war plans were shared. That is absolutely false. The American public have read the exact content of the texts that were shared. That's classified information. Those are absolutely war plans. And American credibility is destroyed when you have our highest level national security officials transparently and brazenly lying to the American people and to the world, effectively representing that 2 plus 2 equals 9. That hurts American credibility and security just as much, if not more, as the cavalierness that they have about the security of our most sacred information.
So there was a really telling moment this morning, Wednesday, at a White House press conference when the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, basically said, let the people decide what the truth is. And this emerged when she was asked again and again if the information on that chain was classified. She said it's not because Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says it wasn't classified. But every single expert we know, people in the administration, people in the intelligence community have said, of course, that would be classified. It strikes me here that this whole idea of let the people decide what the truth is, in a climate where we're so polarized, how do you expect that to play out?
Well, democracies can't function in a world without truth. There has to be some underlying baseline of reality that we all agree on. You simply can't solve a single problem in your neighborhood, your community, your state, or your nation if we don't agree on a common set of facts. We can always disagree on the method by which we approach a solution to a problem, but we can't be in disagreement about the underlying reality. The ground underneath our feet has to exist or not exist. And I think what is so chilling about this moment is what the administration thinks it can get away with, right? They have literally put up a bright white piece of paper for the entire world to see and are telling you it's a black piece of paper. Democracies can't function when we can't make those basic agreements around easy to deduce facts. It is just true. Those were war plans, attack plans, call them whatever you want. And it is absolutely true that that's classified information. Information is classified for lots of reasons, but one of the reasons information is classified is because if it were known to the broad public, it would put our security and our troop security in jeopardy. Those texts were sent out at least 30 minutes before the attacks were launched. Thank goodness it was Jeff Goldberg who was accidentally attached to that email chain, because if it was someone else that was randomly in one of those individuals' phone books, that information could have been potentially sent to our enemies or made public ahead of that mission, which would have compromised the safety and the security of the airmen that were flying those planes and the troops and the sailors that were launching the attacks. So, yes, the fact that this incident speaks to the inability of the Trump administration to believe in the very idea of truth is maybe the most dangerous threat that is posed to our democratic norms.
So, given the threat to democracy here, what can Congress do? Because we've all been watching these hearings over the last 2 days, and Senator, it honestly feels like there are two sides that are talking at each other without agreeing on basic facts. Uh, so, what can Congress do to change that?
Well, Congress is controlled by Donald Trump. Republicans, who have essentially become a cult of personality, are in charge of the House and the Senate. So Democrats, who believe in the concept of truth and objective reality, we don't have the ability to convene our own hearings or the power of subpoena. I'm glad to hear that at least one Republican, the Republican chairman of the Armed Services Committee in the Senate, has suggested there should be some outside investigation. But this is a criminal matter. I mean, really, they violated several laws, the Espionage Act, the Presidential Records Act. We can do a congressional investigation. There can be an independent audit, but ultimately there needs to be criminal liability, or our criminal laws don't matter. If criminal laws are only applied to the poor and not applied to the powerful, then we are not a nation of laws any longer. And that's, again, a real this is why this is a moment of crisis, because there's no suggestion that the Department of Justice, again, controlled by the president, not an independent body, is going to bring any criminal charges here. That shatters our concept of rule of law, because the law is supposed to apply to everybody equally.
Wow. I want to circle back later to what Democrats can do, but let me go now to the topic we had originally planned to discuss before Signalgate, and that is corruption. So, as we sort of describe in our new print issue, there's corruption, there's grand corruption, there are oligarchies, and then there are kleptocracies. How do you think of the United States? Where does it fall on that scale, and how bad is it?
I think that the Trump administration's intent is to turn us into a hybrid oligarchy kleptocracy, which is, a relatively common form of government over the course of human history. A small group of elites with enormous financial resources that make decisions for the people and then operationalize government in order to engage in large scale, industrial sized theft. And well, um, we've not made that full journey. There's still plenty of time to arrest our transition to a oligarchy enabling kleptocracy. You can see the signs, the way in which Elon Musk, the richest person in the country, has essentially been given extraordinary powers that no unelected American has ever been given before. The way he's using those powers, sometimes to just award himself contracts. Look at what he's doing in the FAA to cancel a contract to a competitor and award the contract to himself, to give himself new contracts without the normal kind of vetting that occurs in a contract award process, to shutter the parts of the federal government that would stand in the way of his expansion. whether it be the elements of NTSB, which oversee automized vehicles, whether it be the NLRB, which was investigating many of the unfair labor practices of Musk's businesses. He is pulling the strings of government in a way that benefit him. That is oligarchy, but that is also ultimately kleptocracy because it results in him, because he has access to the government, becoming richer and more powerful than others who don't have access to the functions of government.
So, if I may, I just want to sharpen this a little bit. So, corruption is not new. Money in politics is also not a new phenomenon. There's lots of data showing that the United States has gotten more corrupt and less equal as a trend line for the last 2 decades. And that is a period that includes both Republican and Democratic administrations. And we also know that billionaires, or at least multi-millionaires, have served in senior positions in Democratic administrations. So explain to our viewers why now, why this moment feels so different to you.
Well, no unelected individual in this country has ever been given the portfolio with the scope of Elon Musk's. Elon Musk has carte blanche to fire anyone in the federal government, to close any office in the federal government. His mandate is limitless. No matter what Trump announced a few weeks ago at his cabinet meeting, that was a legal maneuver. Elon Musk has more power than the president himself. That has no corollary in any prior administration, Republican or Democrat. And well, you are right that our government has been corrupt for a very long time because of the way in which we have allowed for people with money to corrupt our electoral politics, the way in which you can now have secret money impact races in a way that was never available years ago. And then those secret donors coming to elected officials and asking for their favors after the election is over. This is a new level of corruption. The Trump meme coin alone is probably the biggest corruption scandal in the history of the United States of America. The idea that the president of the United States has a secret but seemingly legal way for any big company CEO, any Saudi prince, any Russian oligarch to wire, essentially, Donald Trump millions or billions of dollars, and it happened outside of the view of the American public, is outrageous. And so the fact that the corruption is happening in full view doesn't make it any less corrupt. And I would argue that the way in which Musk is empowered and the way in which the corruption has been mainstreamed in this government really has no comparison over the course of American political history.